a blue chip stock is a blue chip stock. And in the NFT space, we do know that a day is a week, a week is a month, and a month is a year. And that's really true. And so too is the same with these projects, right? So in the end of the day, if you do have a project that's been around longer than 6 months, has been able to maintain a relatively stable floor price, has really good founders and a good project behind it, and has a good amount of Ethereum that's been traded. I'm talking about tens of thousands of ETH. They are considered NFT blue chips. Okay, so it's different to a blue chip company. It's an NFT blue chip project, right? And that's what we're referring to tonight. So I do think this is a good time to say that the NFT space is incredibly risky. Even blue chips can fluctuate in price wildly, and even blue chips could fail. We don't know. So always be careful. Always, only play with money that you can really live without. And yeah, so let's jump into it. I think if we would be remiss not to start with Board Ape Yacht Club.
Yeah,
Board Ape Yacht Club is a blue chip NFT project. I'm not going to say in my opinion, but throughout the show. But I mean, I don't think we can deny this. You look here, they've got a collection of 10,000 items, 63% ownership ratio, a floor price of 98 Ethereum, almost 400,000 Ethereum traded. And if you have a look, anyone who's not familiar with Bored Apes, this is them. And if you have one, you are very well respected. If this is your PFP, you are known that you have a Bored Ape, that you were early to the space, or that you have a whole lot of money and that you were able to spend 100 ETH if you were late to the space. Either way, you get respect. If we look at the activity over all time, you can see that the absolute high that it ever hit was 127 Ethereum about 2 weeks ago. I mean, this is a graph. Moreland, what do you think? This is what you want to see. Look how, if you take a ruler and just draw a line, it is going up the whole time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's outliers, but I mean, that's a constant going up. And in my opinion, long term, it's going to continue going up. Obviously,
they just got a $4 billion evaluation as a company, right? So
yeah,
that's billion with a B. Like that's a lot of money. So yeah, you just can sort of see. It looks like the New York Stock Exchange, like always up and to the right. It's crazy.
Yeah. And in the end of the day, that's what you want to see from these. Obviously, there can be fluctuations of we've seen it's gone from 130 ETH to 100 ETH. That will happen, but we're talking medium to long term. This is as safe as it gets. It's a lot of money, but to put at risk if you're buying in now. But remember, these minted at 0.08, if you can imagine that. And, very interesting how they stayed flat for almost 2 solid months. And I always say, guys, if you're buying into projects that you trust, you've got to stay in for at least 3 months. If you've done your research, you're happy with the project, because it takes time. Before mint, you are just preparing for mint, and there's a lot to prepare for. Then once you minted, you are so tired and so worn out, you need a few days to recover, and then you start building the project. Right? So it's really a story here. I mean, imagine if you minted 10 and got bored in the first month and thought, where's my return, and sold all 10. I mean, that I probably jumped off a building somewhere,
Yeah. You'd see that big upswing there, right in the middle of the graph. No, just right to the left a little more. Right there, like that first huge swing in the graph, that'd be where they'd be really kicking themselves, I think.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, profit is profit. So
100%. And then, these guys then launched, gave as a free airdrop when the price was around 7 or 8 Ethereum, the Board Ape Kennel Club was given as a free airdrop. You literally woke up one morning, and not only had your ape increased from a floor of 4 to a floor of 6 overnight, but you got yourself a kennel club, a free kennel club in your wallet. And these are those guys. I've never seen them at such a high floor price. They have come down like everything else in the last couple of days. They went as high as 12, which is incredible. But again, a lot of guys got these and sold them from the beginning. They're not my cup of tea visually, but yeah, they're a part of the Board Ape family. And then you have your famous mutants, right? 18,000 units, 12,000 owners, just shy of 18 Ethereum floor price, also down off the 25 high. We're finding that across the board at the moment for the most part. But again, Ethereum is doing the same thing. Is also down, is also up. The opposite thing is also up about 25%, right? So on ETH terms, you're pretty much equal. 244,000 volume traded, man. Remember, this collection is a lot newer than the Bored Apes. It started only in the middle of November, bro, which is quite incredible. And then the nice thing about this is that I just want to show you here, both the Mutant and the Bored Ape is going to be getting the token. So, a lot of people can't afford this type of entry over here into at 100 Ethereum, but they can afford an 18 ETH entry, and if they can, this is your chance to be a part of the the Board Ape Yacht Club family. And Mutants have really, really come into their own and are also well respected in the space. So that is the Board Ape Yacht Club, ladies and gentlemen. Morland, anything you want to add?
No, just I feel like if you're in NFTs, everyone knows Bored Ape. At some point, these are going to be a household name. Like when I talk to my friends that don't know NFTs, I always start off by saying, "Well, have you heard of Bored Ape Yacht Club?" And a lot of them actually say no, but I really do think that this is going to be the first one that like everyone will know. Oh yeah, okay, the monkeys, right? The cartoon monkeys. Like it's going to be here forever. As long as this NFT thing keeps on rolling, these guys are going to be leading the charge, right?
For sure.
They were the first, well, not the first to do it, because we're going to talk about the real first to do it, but really just the first ones to see this just progressive, like up and to the right graph, continually growing, continually delivering. And like I said earlier, they have a $4 billion evaluation as a business. Like, that's huge. And
Yeah.
just as starting out as just selling some JPEGs to becoming $1 billion, valued at $4 billion. It's wild.
It's incredible. Just before we jump into CryptoPunks, which are the real OGs, we should have actually started with CryptoPunks. It's my fault. Before we jump into CryptoPunks, I guess we're starting with the highest floor price, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
I just want to say one thing about mutants that you do need to be aware of. There are 3 different levels of mutants: an M1, an M2, and an M3, which is not showing here because there's obviously none for sale. The M3 is the most rare and most valuable by far. The M2s are generally more rare and valuable than the M1s, right? So you can see here that with the M1 traits, you've got 1,797 M1 yellow, 1,700, 1,700. And when you get to M2, all of a sudden there's only 580 yellow and 547 gray, right? So they are rarer. However, there are some M1 traits that are more sought after than a floor M2. So it's not as simple as that, but if you're just going for supply size and rarity, the M3s are the rarest by far, and they fetch a lot of money. Then you got the M2s, and then you've got the M1s, but the M2s and M1s, you got to look into the traits as well.
Yeah. I like the having of like different traits, different levels of traits, kind of gamifies the collecting of it. And like if you may not like any of the M2 traits and you just want an M1, or you may not care at all and go for something that's on the floor, right? So it adds that sort of collecting aspect to it, right?
Yeah,
Along with
for sure.
pretty much any other NFT, but having the different levels is kind of cool as well.
I think from an investment perspective, if there was hypothetically an M2 at the same, an entry level M2 at the same price as a more visually appealing M1 or sought after trait M1, from a
Mhm.
purely investment perspective, I would go for the M2 because
Yeah, people will
they are
see,
rarer. There
and
are
people will
less of them.
see later if you try and as an investment flip it, people will see,
Yeah.
oh, this is an M2, and just think, okay, that's more rare. Yeah, I'll pay what they want me to pay.
With that said, the guys aping into this now, into Board Apes now, a lot of them don't know the difference between M1. A lot of them are
Yeah, they
like
just
these
want it.
celebrities or whatever. They've just heard about it. They just want it for the status symbol or whatever. To
Mhm.
them, it makes no difference. So it might be easier to flip an M1 because that's going to be a lower priced one than it would be to get rid of an M2. I'm not sure. But I do think long term, from an investment perspective, obviously compared to 1,500 or 1,700 yellow M1s, I would rather have one of the 540 whatever yellow M2s from a
Right.
purely investment perspective.
Yeah. Good insight.